All right. Happy Monday. What's going on,
Good
Nas?
afternoon.
How we doing? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning.
Good morning to those in Australia.
Yeah. Whoever, wherever, welcome. How was your weekend? As you notice, it's just Nas and I today. We have no Diego. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, despite it being, speaking of weather,
Nice weather.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Although it's still like I have my heat on in the car in the morning, and now I got the AC blasting, but it is quite cozy here in the studio.
Yeah, all next week it's gonna be hoodie on, hoodie off weather.
Yeah,
It's weird.
yeah. So, but anyway, at any rate, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. Not too eventful. So just
Listen.
hung out around home.
At 40 years old, not eventful is A-okay in my book. My wearing of the Arsenal quarter zip brought them the good vibes.
Yes,
We'll talk about it during our Premier League Matchday 34 coverage, but Arsenal did get back to winning ways, so good for them. I'm trying to think of what else we had going on. We had a very good showing for our NYCFC supporters club. I think they had like 25 or so people. They gave away a goalkeeper jersey.
Yeah, I saw that.
That
Tough match, but
it was a tough match. But playing at Montreal, despite the
Buffalo Wild Wings threw me off.
Really?
So I got home and Dee wanted to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I remember that the game was going on, but when we were there, they were showing the rerun of the Cincinnati game. So I'm like, oh look, they're up 4-2. The guys must be going crazy.
Yeah,
I looked online and it was like 1-0. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I wonder. I will say, Apple TV is not the greatest in terms of navigating.
Yeah.
So what my guess would be what happened, because I've done the same thing. They don't really have much of a pre-match, at least for the specific matches. So I think it was a 2:30 kickoff. Yeah. So at 2:00, if they go to Apple TV and scroll around and find NYCFC or whatever team,
they probably had a rerun.
If the upcoming match hasn't started their pregame stuff yet, then the first thing that pops up will be the existing match. So. I'm trying to give.
I was like, oh look, they're up 4-2.
I'm trying to give B-Dubs. Don't get me started. They were up 4-2 in the 92nd minute, and they still drew 4-4 that game. I had to take my shoelaces away from me so I didn't strangle myself after that one. But yes, at any rate, Premier League Match Day 34 is in the books. Other than
I don't know if it's maybe because I joined you guys halfway through the season last season or what, but this season it feels like it never ends.
I know. We've talked about it with the international breaks.
6-week international break.
But at the same time, I feel like
it started in August and we're already almost into June, like May, June here.
I feel like and this happens every year. The first, 3 or 4 months, we see these matches and we say, Liverpool's going to go undefeated this year because they were, and then Liverpool's falling apart, and what happened to Man City? They're in the bottom half of the table, and Arsenal hasn't given up a goal in XYZ days, and Bournemouth is in second place. Bournemouth might get relegated.
Tottenham's in second place.
Oh, Tottenham's going to get relegated.
In second place.
So it's like
United's in second place.
And to your credit, and Diego always busts my balls that I don't give credit or don't admit I'm wrong. I love to be wrong, and I love to give other people credit. So to your credit, week in, week out, for the first third to half of the season, you said, stop it. It's too early. Yeah. But then we keep doing that, and then you blink, and we have 4 matches left. So it is interesting how that dynamic of time works with us on that. Let me just make sure I'm on there. Okay. So Match Day 34 in the books. Everyone has 4 matches left to play, with the exception of Manchester City and Crystal Palace, as they still look to make up that date from, I believe that was an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup match congestion issue. So they're trying to find spots in the calendar. Obviously, with Man City qualifying for another final, that might be continued to be complicated, as well as Palace. They're still in Europe too, right? Yeah. So, there's a lot of moving
You
parts.
got a lot of moving games still coming around.
Yeah.
Some people are saying that City's going to end up with 3 games in hand.
I did read that. I don't know. Well, I will say, on the American side of things, NYCFC versus LAFC has now been pushed back due to LAFC's advancement in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That match was supposed to take place, I think, in the summer. They've since moved it to, I want to say, November 4th, which is 2.5 weeks after the league's decision day, where everyone plays at the same time to minimize anyone knowing what's going on around them. So that's an interesting dynamic that we can talk about as the MLS season continues, and we'll have a small window of a break after the World Cup, and MLS will be in the forefront. But let's hop to it. Match day 34 was a mixed week with FA Cup, as we talked about.
Tuesday matches,
so we had
Wednesday matches.
Starting on Tuesday, we had Brighton and Hove Albion hosting Chelsea. This was,
Rosignor's last.
Yeah, now we know this was Liam Rosignor's last match.
Yes.
It was I use this word, fairly often here on these big wins, but I don't know if I've ever meant it more. This was a comprehensive victory for Brighton. 3-0 goals from Ferdi Kadioglu in the 3rd, Jack Hinchelwood in the 56th, and the ageless wonder Danny Welbeck in the 91st, still trying to prod Tom Tuchel to get him into the England squad maybe for this World Cup.
Third backup, right?
But Brighton and Hove Albion, the last few weeks have looked light years ahead of what they did the rest of the calendar year. They've been a mixed bag, but January, February, parts of March, they didn't look like they wanted to be out there. There were rumors of Fabian Hertzler being out of a job, and since then they have lit it up. They are now into 6th place, and pretty strong momentum here now for a European spot.
Yep.
As it stands, I'm sure we'll mention this a couple more times today, but as it stands, the top 5 places in the Premier League will be in Champions League, 6th place will be a Europa League spot, and 7th place will be a Conference League spot. So, and then obviously there's some potential moving around with that depending on who wins the FA Cup final, which we'll talk about later. Now to Wednesday, Burnley hosting Manchester City. This was a very important match for Man City. At this point, they needed these 3 points to get level with Arsenal for the Premier League lead. And with this match, not only would they have been even on points, but I believe also goal differential, or maybe Man City would have gone up, depending on who was where. It was an early goal from Erling Haaland in the 5th minute, and that's all they needed. Burnley 0, Manchester City 1. Again, not much to write home about. It could have, probably should have been more.
A lot closer than it could have been.
Playing at Burnley, obviously, these
Burnley was literally their last game before announcing the relegation. Yes. They were trying to stave it off as much as they could.
Exactly. So, the last good fight, kind of, as they say. Also Wednesday, Bournemouth hosting Leeds United. Bournemouth went up twice in this match. A goal from Krupi in the 60th minute before a James Hill own goal. Hyon scored in the 86th minute. Beautiful assist from American Tyler Adams. Thought it was all done and dusted. And then off of a throw-in in the 97th minute, Sean Longstaff leveled it at 2-2. A bit of a gut punch for Bournemouth just based on, again, the momentum and possibly getting into Europe. I even though it's at home, I will say a point is always good. Their unbeaten streak still goes on, dating back to January 3rd, I believe. And they currently sit in 7th place, while Leeds are in 15th, trying to amass a few more points to mathematically get them out of the relegation battle. Friday, Sunderland hosted Nottingham Forest, and this was just a whitewash. An own goal from Tri Hume in the 17th, Chris Wood in the 31st, Morgan Gibbs-White in the 34th, Igor Jesus in the 37th, before Elliot Anderson in the 5th minute of stoppage time, and it was Nottingham 5-0 win away from home.
I don't know what Nottingham's got in the tank, but this is their second game with multiple goals.
Yeah,
Gibbs White had a hat trick in the last game, right?
They were down 1-0 in that, and they wound up winning 4-1. So that's 9 goals in their last 2 matches.
The Forest of old has woken up.
Yeah,
I think they're still in Europe too, right?
Yes, they play. I believe they play Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I think I have that down in the what's on tap section. But for me, that probably puts Forest and Leeds both into safety. I think it's going to just be between West Ham and Spurs for that last spot between 17th and 18th. Fulham hosted Aston Villa on the weekend, right? This was the first. Yes, this was the first match, I believe, of
Saturday morning.
Of a Saturday. A Ryan Sessegnon goal in the 43rd minute gave Fulham the 1-0 win, and Villa's kind of up and down end of season continues.
I feel like they're just coasting at this point.
I think so too.
I think they're focusing on their Europe aspirations.
Exactly.
I think they rested a few players, knowing that they have that game coming up. Again, they have 8-point cushion between 6.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They could finish as high as 3rd.
Yep.
It's really between Man United, Liverpool, and Villa for 3rd through 5th.
And I mean, essentially, that is still a good spot.
Oh, of course. Because they're all Champions League spots.
Well, again, it's also the difference between a play-in to the Champions League and a Champions League.
No. All of these are group stage.
No. Even 5th would automatically go straight to group stage?
I believe so, yes. And that is by virtue. You have to thank for that Arsenal.
Why?
Because that victory gave the Premier League the coefficient for the extra team, although they would have gotten it through the other English teams anyway, including themselves actually. So Villa, they're kind of in a good way. They're in no man's land, and they can kind of rest and fight for European trophies. Which, if there's one thing he does well, Unai Emery can win a European title. So. But good for Fulham. That gets them back kind of in the I'm gonna say the playoff picture for these last couple European spots. Now, this was one of 3 matches in the 10 o'clock window. West Ham hosting Everton, as well as Wolves hosting Tottenham. And this is battle
of the bottom.
I know. I kept going back and forth watching both of these matches. As obviously West Ham was in 17th at the time, Spurs in 18th at the time. It was going back and forth, but we'll cover the West Ham match first. West Ham with a Thomas Souček goal in the 51st minute, went up 1-0. Kieran Dewsbury Hall in the 88th minute for Everton to make things 1-1. Thought, okay, here we are. Callum Wilson in the 92nd minute, breaking Spurs hearts, as well as Everton hearts, I guess you could say. Yeah. But West Ham with a 2-1 victory to keep them in safety for now, it should be said. And then over to Wolves. We'll just cover both these matches together and then kind of talk about the intricacies of it all. A João Palhinha goal in the 82nd minute gave Tottenham their first win of 2026. And it was as close as it could have been. Certainly a lot of tight moments, an incredible save by Kinski for Spurs on a Wolves free kick. But as it stands, both West Ham and Spurs won, which obviously for Tottenham, you want the victory, but they are running out of time in terms of hoping for slip-ups from other teams. So West Ham currently on 36 points.
I mean, here's the funny thing. Arsenal play West Ham in a few games.
Yeah.
Arsenal could technically save Tottenham's season.
Oh, boy. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Technically save Tottenham's season.
West Ham on 36 points and Spurs now on 34 points. It should be noted that Spurs have a better goal differential than West Ham by 6. Spurs are at -10, West Ham at -16. So if for whatever reason Tottenham are to win a game and West Ham draw, they'll be level on points, but Spurs obviously have that advantage in their pocket. The other 10 a.m. matchup was Liverpool hosting Crystal Palace. And again, Liverpool has been absolutely all over the place, but good to see some of the new-ish signings from this summer kind of getting back into it. Alexander Isak scored in the 35th minute, his first goal back from that horror leg break that he had while scoring a goal. Andrew Robertson shortly thereafter in the 40th. Daniel Munoz scored for Palace in the 71st to make things a game again before Florian Wirtz in the 96th minute really put things on ice. And Liverpool now in 4th place with a 3-1 victory on 58 points, level with Villa, only 3 behind Man United. And again, after all the turmoil that they've gone through with Mo Salah, with Arne Slot, should he stay, should he be fired, etc. They're having a good year. They're having a good, respectable year. I think in the big picture of it, under a microscope, I do think a lot needs to change there, possibly including the manager. We'll see what their offseason looks like. But a good victory for the Reds at home against Crystal Palace. Then Arsenal, this was, I believe, the 12:30 match, I think. Arsenal hosting Newcastle. We talked in the preview and last week about Newcastle's up and down season. Does Eddie Howe need to be fired? Voltemati obviously is not the player that they thought of when they were replacing Isak. But Eberici Eze, 9th minute off a free kick, I believe, right? Beautiful, it was a set piece goal. Beautiful.
No. It was a corner.
Oh, okay.
It was a passing corner. Yep.
So yeah, it was a great goal. 9th minute, and that again, all Arsenal needed. We had talked Saturday morning. I personally thought, obviously, you can't control some of these things, but I thought Arsenal needed to put their foot on the gas a bit more, and even with a lead of 1-0, keep going forward and scoring goals.
There was a couple of chances that could have been converted. Yep. There was once again controversy in the fact that a goalkeeper took a guy down way outside of his box. It is what it is. The guy got a yellow instead of a red.
I was listening to Tony Miola on SiriusXM today while mowing the lawn. First time I mowed the lawn this year. And again, it should be said, Tony Miola is a goalkeeper, so take that with whatever grain of salt you want. But he did not, my understanding was he didn't feel it was a red, but he did say, if that's not a goalkeeper and that's a field player doing it, it probably is a red. So he totally acknowledged that it is kind of a double standard.
You have ex-refs that come out and say that should have been a red. Like, you can have anybody sit there. You can have the kindergartner down the road say that's not a red. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like, for me, that is, your
one-on-one,
your
the
orange
closest
card.
Yeah.
If it was a red, I don't think they overturn it to make it a yellow. If it was a yellow, they obviously did not overturn it to make it a red. I think it's kind of that gray area that we...
But again, 2 games in a row, Arsenal has a player pretty much one-on-one with something. Yep. They get brought down, yellow card. It is what it is. Yep. I'll take the clean sheet.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Go into the game against.
And that was the next thing. Tony was talking about with Brian Dunseth on the show. Yep. Was obviously Man City have the game in hand, but Tony Miola said, if it's me, I'll take the points. I don't care about the game in hand. Because that's not a guarantee. I don't care if it's Arsenal. I don't care if it's Man City. I don't care if it's Bayern Munich. Playing in Germany. Yep. You want the points in your pocket already. Yep. So, that's it. Good thing for Arsenal. We talked all year long almost about the pressure Arsenal is under. Now Arsenal with that victory puts the pressure back into Man City's corner.
Guess. I mean, it was the first win in a while, right? Arsenal have had some issues, with the stuff, and
right.
They go against.
Let's see who I can take.
Well, they go against Atletico in the Champions League on Wednesday, so we'll hopefully they use that as a springboard to bring some more results.
And then Fulham on Saturday.
Correct.
Yep,
yes. Yep. Yeah, they have Fulham at home.
Yep. And then where is City? Oh, City play that Monday game.
City
That's
do
right.
play Monday.
Yeah.
So Arsenal can essentially have 6 points in hand before City plays
Right.
their next
Yep.
City, their Premier League game. Supposedly, again, the Arsenal can easily fluff it up against Fulham.
For sure.
It is what
For
it
sure.
is.
All right. And the last match was actually just finished up maybe about a half hour ago. Manchester United and Brentford. Man U, again, back to looking good. Michael Carrick, they had a little bit of a blip on the radar with a draw and a loss in consecutive matches. But Carrick's got them playing well again. An 11th minute goal from Casemiro. And I got to look at this.
It's as funny as it sounds. You got United still that second place hopes for
Diego.
Diego.
Casemiro this year has 9 goals and 2 assists.
Yep.
Again, obviously, when Man U signed him, they hoped for this kind of stuff. I don't think you ever expected this type of output from a holding midfielder at his age, at his, the mileage that he's put on his body.
Yeah.
But he has really turned up for the Reds here, for United. And looks great. So Casemiro,
once you remove that Amarin play style, I think he's got way more chances.
I definitely agree on that front. So Casemiro in the 11th, Benjamin Šeško in the 43rd, and Matthias Jensen in the 87th for Brentford to, make it look like a fight. But it was Man U handily. With that, let's take a look at the table. So after, like I said, 34 matches played, with the exception of Man City and Crystal Palace, who are on 33, here's what we've got. It's Arsenal leading the league, on 73. Man City on 70. Man United in third on 61. Liverpool and Aston Villa both on 58. Liverpool in fourth, Villa in fifth. Brighton and Hove Albion in sixth on 50 points. AFC Bournemouth in seventh on 49. Chelsea on the heels of 5 straight losses in the league in 8th on 48. Also on 48 are Brentford in 9th and Fulham in 10th. And now scrolling down to the bottom half of the table. Everton in 11th on 47. Sunderland on 46th and 12th. Palace 43 in 13th. Newcastle 42 points in 14th place. Leeds United in 15th on 40. And Nottingham Forest in 16th place on 39. For me, in my eyes, that is the end of safety. In 17th place, West Ham United on 36 points with a negative 16 goal differential. In 18th and currently in the relegation zone, Tottenham Hotspur on 34 with a negative 10 goal differential. And already relegated teams, Burnley in 19th on 20 points and Wolves in last on 17 points, and as their third consecutive loss. So, not great, obviously, for Burnley and Wolves. It's going to be very hairy down the end here for West Ham and Tottenham, and that logjam from 6th place really down to 12th continues. It's only
3 points separates 7th and 12th.
Yeah. And only another 1 point into 6th. So, even Palace with the game in hand could insert themselves right there along with Sunderland. So it's definitely going to come down to the wire for, those last European spots. And really, as a neutral fan, that's all you can ever ask for, with that kind of stuff. Let's, before we take a break, let's get into the FA Cup as we keep things in England. The first match on Saturday was Manchester City and Southampton, and Southampton has been doing extremely well in their league play. I think they were 20 or 21 matches unbeaten. Finn Azaz in the 79th minute put Southampton up 1-0. Great game plan from the Saints, and they worked it nearly to perfection. But when you're playing against a top Premier League side and a squad managed by Pep Guardiola, you have to be essentially perfect every step of the way. And if you let your foot off the gas at any moment, you could be done in. And just like that, 3 minutes after Southampton's goal, Jeremy Doku scored in the 82nd, followed up by Nico Gonzalez with a rocket in the 87th minute. And Man City advances to the FA Cup final with a 2-1 victory over Southampton. Then yesterday morning, Chelsea hosting, or I shouldn't say hosting because both of these matches were at Wembley. Chelsea and Leeds United under I shouldn't say new manager. It was caretaker manager, Callum McFarlane, who was with the U19s, I believe. And this is his second interim or caretaker stint this season after Enzo Maresca's departure earlier in the year. And an Enzo Fernandez goal in the 23rd minute was the only goal of the match. Chelsea won, Leeds United 0. Chelsea and Man City will meet on May 16th at Wembley Stadium for the FA Cup final. Chelsea, this would be their first domestic trophy in years. They did win the Club World Cup over the summer.
Yes, this would be their 7th consecutive
lost final.
Well, in final for England. If they lose it, it would be their 7th loss.
Yes,
but they've made 7 consecutive finals of some sort of country national trophy. Yeah.
That match May 16th at Wembley. I can almost guarantee we'll have it on here in the tap room. And with that, so it now gets a little bit complicated in terms of the table because the FA Cup winner does get into Europa League. If Man City win the FA Cup, 8th place would become a European spot.
Which is Chelsea.
Which right now is Chelsea.
Yeah, that's funny.
But obviously Chelsea are level with Brentford and Fulham as well as Everton and Sunderland right behind their heels. So there are some moving parts there. We talked about it, I don't know if it was Saturday or last week. As a Bournemouth fan with a team in that race, I was hoping for a Man City-Chelsea final because, at that point in time, Chelsea were up, I think, in 5th or 6th place. So it was more hopeful for them to qualify for Champions League anyway. So that's where that stands. We will obviously keep you updated on all that, especially as the next couple Premier League weeks continue. And we will take a quick break here and be right back for 100 Miles to Home, guys. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar. I've got Naz here beside me. I'm Dave, and we are here for 100 Miles to Home, our coverage of local professional soccer. Let's kick it off with some MLS action.
Yes.
CF Montreal hosting New York City Football Club. This was the aforementioned watch party that we had with really quite a good crowd, boisterous, happy, and it was not a great result for NYCFC, but we've talked about how difficult it is, even on more local side of things, to travel away from home in this league. And a Prince Owusu goal in the 18th minute. Despite that, NYCFC kept putting pressure on. They did get a late red card. I believe, was it Tavon Gray? I gotta look now. NYCFC. It was in like the 80th minute, I want to say, somewhere around there.
There it is.
Let's bring it up and bring this over. Yeah, Tavon Gray in the 78th minute. So despite only having 2 shots on target, NYCFC dominated possession, got into the attacking third a lot. They just could not, knock down the door there. So Montreal does take the victory. Now going over to Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati hosted the New York Red Bulls. A pair of goals in the first half from Kevin Denke in the 40th and the 5th minute of first half stoppage time, and 2 shutouts with our local MLS teams. Not great.
Ouch.
It was a tough pill to swallow, and that puts, if we're looking at the table, NYCFC actually remain in 7th place despite that. Red Bulls drop all the way down to 11th, but
they're all tied on 12 points.
7th to 11th, so it's 5 teams: NYCFC, Columbus, Cincinnati, DC United, and the Red Bulls all level on 12 points.
We're about the quarter of the way through the season?
Almost a third. They play 34 matches.
Okay.
So again, there'll be a lengthy break for the World Cup as well to kind of combat with, and so this is going to be a weird season because of that. Obviously it's happened before, but you could be. We looked at the Western Conference before the show started, Naz, and you have San Jose, 9 wins, no draws, 1 loss.
1 loss.
Vancouver, 8 wins, no draws, 1 loss. They have all this momentum, and then, we're going to take a 6-week break from the season. Will they be able to stay up with that, or does that just kind of...
Sounds like the Premier League.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talk about it with the international break.
Yeah.
Will that be good or bad for a lot of these squads? So that will continue to be a key topic on our show. Going across over to the NWSL, Gotham FC hosted Bay FC.
Nice.
And a 3-0 victory. Goals from Carly Lema own goal in the 20th minute, Rose Lavelle in the 40th, the U.S. women's national team member, and Esther, the Spanish leading scorer, a first half stoppage penalty in the 6th minute of first half stoppage. So they finally get back to not just winning ways, but finally scoring ways too. They have been struggling mightily in terms of finding the back of the net, and that puts them. So with this 3 goals, they've now scored 5 on the season. So certainly, you would hope a sign of things to come for them. It remains to be seen if this is just a one-off or something trending, as they are on the outside looking in at this point. In the early stages of the season for the playoff spots. Gainbridge Super League, the other first division, women's league. Brooklyn FC with a 1-1 draw against Dallas Trinity FC. And I believe that will just about do it for their playoff hopes. I think there's only 1 or 2 matches left. So let's check out the table here. And... where are we? I was talking with this league's website is
the user interface
atrocious.
Terrible.
So after 25 matches played, Brooklyn are in 7th place, and I believe it's just the top 4.
Okay.
So they are on the outside looking in. There were no USL League 1 matches on the men's side. But Brooklyn FC's men's team in the USL Championship did have a 1-1 draw with Sacramento Republic. And then also what we had this week, this was on the weekend, what's called the USL Cup. So it is a tournament among all the USL teams,
okay.
Regardless of level. So USL Championship, League 1, and League... I don't believe League 2 actually is in it. But they do a group stage and then into knockouts. So... New York Cosmos hosted Brooklyn FC. Brooklyn FC did win that match 3-0. And then Westchester SC beat the Portland Hearts of Pine in penalties after a 2-2 draw. So we'll continue to see. I believe it's 3 group stage matches, and then they go from there. So now up for what's on tap. We have a huge week coming up here with us. Obviously, tomorrow, Tuesday, is the return of UEFA Champions League. We have first leg of semifinals. PSG will be hosting Bayern Munich at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That match will not be on here in the tap room. We are closed on Tuesdays. And then also for the American or Liga MX fans, CONCACAF Champions Cup is in action as well. Nashville SC hosting Tigres at 8:30 p.m. So another good one to keep eyes on if you're a fan of the game. Then Wednesday, we will be open 3 p.m. Atletico Madrid hosting Arsenal in the other semifinal. Shortly thereafter, 7 p.m. kickoff. On top of WRRV sessions, we have a Cup Derby. New York Red Bulls hosting New York City Football Club at Sports Illustrated Stadium in Paris.
Are you guys going to have a viewing party?
We'll have it on here.
Okay.
It's going to be absolute chaos in the best way possible for the brewery. Like I said, we have the Champions League game at 3. We have Red Rum Club, a Merseyside
WRV
band coming for a WRV session. We have trivia at 7 p.m. also. So it's the whole lot of things. At 8 p.m., Chicago Stars hosting Gotham FC in the NWSL. And then the other CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal, LAFC hosting Toluca in their first leg match. So, again, all walks of life, all leagues, all competitions, all continents, we've got them covered here. Thursday, April 30th, 3 p.m., a Europa League contest between English sides Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. Again, this could go a long way for Villa or Forest, really. This could potentially put Forest into Champions League territory with a win from this. So it'll be a very interesting thing to kind of see who plays how, and does Forest rest hopefully for that non-relegation push, or what are they up to? Saturday morning, 10 a.m. we will be open. First we'll be having the pour over here in the morning at 8, and then at 10, Newcastle United hosting Seagulls on Hudson and Brighton and Hove Albion, before a 12:30 kickoff for Arsenal and Fulham. In other matches, I don't believe we're scheduled to have this one on because of some live music. Red Bulls will be hosting FC Dallas at 7:30 p.m. Now rolling into Sunday, the morning kickoff is AFC Bournemouth and Crystal Palace, before probably the highlight of the weekend, at least in terms of the Premier League, Manchester United and Liverpool, the old school, fight for most league titles. This main rivalry dates back decades. It has lost a little bit of its flavor just from the struggles that Man United have had lately, but now again back in third place, Liverpool in fifth, and this is a pivotal match once again. And when we say this about some of these rivalries, when both teams are good, this is just a good match and a good thing for the league in general. 2 p.m. Aston Villa hosting relegation-threatened Tottenham Hotspur. And again, we talked about it earlier. This could be the end of Spurs, depending on how some other things go. So it'll be...
I don't know. Villa is more focused on their European aspirations.
They do play Thursday. So Thursday into Sunday, not the easiest turnaround.
Yeah, but I also think that, I don't know. I don't think Tottenham's going down.
Okay.
I don't think that. I think that all the pieces are set up that Tottenham can save their season. I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. Losing 2 players last game does make it seem.
Yes. By the way, so Xavi Simons did try to play on. He banged up his foot early. Then he went down with a knee injury. Tried to continue playing, and it was revealed. I think I texted you
ACL
earlier.
Injury,
he tore his ACL.
Solanke got taken off. I don't know what that ended up being. However, the guy that did come on for Simone did score the winning goal.
Right. So. Joao Paulinho, yeah. Tottenham fixture. So we've looked at this so many times, but so they are at Villa, then home against Leeds, then at Chelsea, home against Everton. You think they can stay up with those 4 matches remaining?
I don't know. I think as much as I want to say they go down, I'll let you know after this Villa game.
Yeah, no,
I'll let you know after this Villa game, because if they win and West Ham lose, they're swapped.
Yeah. So West Ham travel to Brentford this weekend.
Yep.
Home against Arsenal.
Yep.
At Newcastle, who right now essentially has nothing to play for.
Yep.
And that last match, home against Leeds, which
who might not have anything to play for.
Who might not have anything to play for. So it's whereas Everton on the last match of the season might be in European contention. And
Chelsea.
Yep. And Everton under David Moyes.
We never know. Like I said, there's 4 games left for both teams.
For sure.
We'll see after the Villa game.
No, I agree.
We got to take it one game at a time. I can't sit here and say yes.
And I will be traveling.
Pigmol does some funny things.
They sure do. I will be traveling for the 3:00 game. NYCFC hosting DC United. But we will also have that match here in the tap room. We have been asked by the club not just to show the away matches. They want us to show the home matches for them as well. So I do anticipate a smaller crowd because of it, just because it's a home match, and a lot of the fans that come here also have season tickets. But we are happy to accommodate and facilitate the club's request to do that. One for the road. What have you got for us, Naz?
All right, I got an interesting one.
All right, I'm here for it.
LAFC in the hot seat right now.
Oh.
Because their Switzerland-owned team,
yes, I did see that, yes.
have told them to go F themselves.
Yes.
After neglecting the team.
Yeah, with the
last couple
with
years.
a tifo and everything.
Yep.
I did see that. So
Yes, Zurich Grasshopper, I think is what it's called.
yeah.
Apparently, they're multi-time winners of the Switzerland
Yeah.
League.
Oh, yeah. They are.
But over the last couple of years, they've been struggling.
Right.
2 years ago, the LFC came in. They brought, they brought a bunch of, glamour and like, hey, we're gonna bring you guys wins and better players. And so far, they have not acted on their deal.
Yeah. No, I did see that. And again, we've talked a lot over the course of the months and years. By the way, it totally took me by surprise. This is our 2-year anniversary for the show.
Correct.
I think it was like late last week. Obviously, you've joined us in year 2, which we appreciate and love everything about it. But so 2 years to us. Maybe that should have been the one for the road. But 2-year celebration. Thank you guys in our audience. For watching live or listening after the fact. We appreciate all of you. I have a couple for the road. I watched obviously the Milan Juve game. Luka Modric has broken 2 bones in his cheek.
Oh.
He did have surgery. He's on track to play in the World Cup still, but that will be a fight to fitness for him. So I did want to mention that.
Just no headers for a while.
Right, exactly. It was funny. It's always funny to me in Europe. Obviously they have great physios. They have a great medical team at a lot of these clubs. They still use like the old school like fabric ice bags that you like. Yeah. So you see him with like this big old like 1950s era bag of ice on his face. So big ups to him. Hopefully they can get him healed and back. I think a World Cup without Luka Modric does not feel like a real World Cup. So
yep.
I did want to mention that. And I think that's about it for me. I thought I had one other, but it has now escaped me. That's why I need to write things down.
I did read that the Greeks have a possibility of 5 European spots.
In Greece?
Yeah.
That would be great.
I sent it to you in Discord. Look at.
I have been running all over the place today.
No worries. They were talking about the possibility.
Go bring it up on your phone and read it. Yeah, we can both have 2 on the road here.
Here you go. So this is translated from EXO. Greece now has a historical chance to enter all 5 top teams into UEFA League stages next season.
Wow.
With 2 league stage spots already secured. Champions of getting a UEL, and then OFI Crete, who just beat PAOK in the Greek Cup, now gets UECL. So AEK and Olympiacos set probably to take the top 2 spots for Champions League. PAOK for the qualifying of the Europa League. And then you have UECL qualifying for Panathinaikos and an automatic bid for OFI Crete. So 5 teams, possibly the first time ever.
That would be great for the league. Yep. Good, it would be good to obviously one for the league, but in short term, but also get more eyes on the league as well.
Yes.
You would hope for the fans of those teams that they could get through the qualifying stages, which is obviously no guarantee. That totally took me by surprise there.
Yeah, for the first time.
And then the only other thing, quick mention, we are not debuting because it's a few days old already, but every day on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and now TikTok, I have been doing a brief intro to any and all of the 48 nations participating in this summer's World Cup. 48 countries in 48 days. It's been fun, even for me, who a lot of this I did know, but kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive into the nations and their history, picking out some stats that are new to me or surprising to me. It's really been super informative. So I'm enjoying doing it for you guys, but please, by all means, give us a listen on those things. And that will bring me to my next point of thank you guys so much. We are just about wrapped up here, but give us a follow here on Twitch or YouTube. Like, subscribe, and please share. And then also on Instagram, now TikTok and Facebook. Throw us a like on there.
Heart, follow, share.
Yeah, do all the things.
Tweet.
Yeah. Remember the old poke button on Facebook?
Yes.
Back in the day?
Poke.
Anyway, thank you. That'll do it for us. If you have any requests for more content, please reach out, dave@cdunewburgh.com, or make an inquiry on our website, www.cdunewburgh.com. We will see you Wednesday for Atleti Arsenal or any of our other watch parties. If not, Saturday morning right here for the pour over, or back again Monday evening, 5:30 p.m. for a soccer fan walks into a bar. Thanks, guys. Cheers.